Oh, we are live. We are live, and I tried to get it done for about 8 o'clock, but I got a bit distracted. But I mean, 25 past 8 isn't bad, really. Isn't bad. Just considering I've been doing it like 9 o'clock in the past couple of weeks or whatever. I'm getting better. So, how are we all doing today then? I'm glad it's Friday. Glad I can finally, well, relax a bit and have a drink and chill a bit and talk amongst people, amongst friends for an hour or so and just unwind. Went into a charity shop this week actually. Wasn't on the hunt for vinyl, just went in there to have a look at some clothes and bits and pieces, and had a look over to one side and I see like this box of vinyl, and like the first one I see is The Police. Of course, anything you see with The Police, you know, sort of like tweaks your interest, doesn't it? So I was, oh yeah, that's interesting. It's only a small box, probably got, I don't know, 20, 30 records in there. And I'm flicking through and thinking there's quite some good stuff in here actually, you know. And nothing was priced. So I was thinking, oh, how much are they? So I looked at the front of the box, £2 each. I'm like, wow, I'm buying this, some of this anyway. So I was flicking through and I see, I'm not going to name what it is because I want to wait for the video, but I see at least probably a 20 to 30 quid record. And I'm thinking, ching, that's coming home with me. And I knew in my head the value of it. Well, I had some rough idea at least. And so I sort of quickly sort of look around and get on my phone and Google it, right? On like eBay, just confirm what I'm thinking and how much people are selling it on eBay. And I was absolutely right. So brilliant. I'm getting this at least this record and these others. Some of them I have already, but I thought I'll pick them up. Being that they're so dirt cheap, I can sort of VCLT them to whoever. So yeah, I'm thinking that I might struggle making another vinyl video because I've recently done one last week. I've got another batch of vinyl I can show. So yeah, I'm pleased about that, and I'm pleased. I've had a bit of a score because it's been a while actually since I've had a decent score. Are those plastic crates behind you containing incoming or outgoings? No, just a box of 7-inch singles which I keep them stored in, and below is records which I just keep stored and not sort of in my cube storage. I'm sort of taking away anything sort of 70s and older out of my cube storage and into plastic storage, as I'm looking to sort of whittle down on some of my older records, so to speak, and make my collection a bit smaller. So it's a bit of organization and what have you. Anyway, Ian's here. I better let him on. You right, Ian?
I'm good. Yeah.
Good.
Yes. Refreshed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Busy day tomorrow. Off to Leeds.
Yes, I hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, with Nick's Vinyl Butty and Mike's Vinyl Spiral. Hello, Ollie. Yeah, we're going to the Leeds Record Fair, a pint and a good chin wag.
Yeah, should be fun.
I mean, Nick, the journey up to Leeds doesn't take long because Nick is just great to talk with.
It's the same place you went to last time, right?
Yeah, we're going to the same.
Right. That should be good then.
Yeah,
Amongst friends, so to speak.
yeah. Usual thing. Gonna have a bait and butty and a cup of tea. Look at the stalls. Go and find a pub. And
Is
try
there anything in particular after vinyl wise, or just whatever?
I never go in with. Obviously, they're bands that I like to try and get. I might try and look for some Wings because I have picked up some Wings.
Wings, yeah, Wings is good.
Yeah, picked up my 2 favorite albums on vinyl. So
Recently,
yeah, when I was off last week, I went out for a lunch to a place called Vintage Retreat in Northampton. It's full of knickknacks and second-hand stuff, but it's got a great little record bit.
cool.
And so have a cup of coffee and something to eat and all that. And they've got a thing where there's one stall that does 4 albums for a tenner. You can't go wrong, can you?
No, not that price. No.
No, so I picked up 4 for a tenner. So, and 2 of them were Wings. So if I see any other Wings, you know, when you start, I'm going to get them now. I mean, I've had them on CD and iPod for years, but I want to get them now.
Do you have Wings Greatest?
I haven't got that one.
That's a nice compilation.
It's great because it's got Paul McCartney and Wings, and it's got a tire on it, and
it flows really nicely. That comp, doesn't it? It doesn't overstay its welcome.
No, I half hinged that because good evening, Zeb. I half hinged it, so it's always been. I've never owned a physical copy of it. I've always had it on a copied disc, shall we say?
London Town is great.
Yeah, I love that album. I've had it, and funny enough, I actually had it on yesterday while I was doing my tea before I did my stream. It's a nice album. It, as you say, it flows beautifully, doesn't it? The songs, you go for older songs, the newer ones of the Wings catalogue. Brilliant album.
Yeah, that should be good.
Yeah,
it's funny, like you just sort of come across these things without expecting them, so not looking for them, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like it happened to me this week. I just so happened to go in a charity shop, not looking for vinyl particularly, but just coming across a stack of vinyl which was like sweet, you know.
Yeah, the trouble is to go to the coffee shop at this place, Vintage Retreat, you have to go buy the records.
Yeah. The best places are the charity shops, I find, where they don't know what they're selling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you can get them like so cheap. That's exactly what you want. But unfortunately, those sort of places are few and far between now, aren't they? Because virtually everybody knows about vinyl, and it's, you know.
Yeah, but sometimes you go in there.
You just struck gold, don't you, sometimes?
Yeah, I think it's one of my Tina Turner albums. I think I picked up £2 for it, you know.
Yeah. Right. It's all right.
It's like the Foreign Affair. You know the one when you open them, it's just got her legs.
Yeah.
She's
got great legs, isn't she?
Yeah, I've seen them legs, so yeah. And I was in the 5th row, and boy, has she got a pair of legs.
Yeah, she has.
That was when I saw her on the Private Dancer tour. Fantastic.
I was flicking through the day thinking, Ian might not have this. I might just pick this up for Ian. You know, just thinking people in mind, sort of thing. You know, so you might get the VCLT in the near future.
Yes. Again, I tell you what, I did watch it last week, and I sat down and watched it. I watched The Hornblower.
Good series.
Oh, I loved it. I love that sort of thing.
The Rust Juice, yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I like Master and Command. You know, I love the old Navy frigates, proper combat. None of this just jumping.
It's quite sharp, but at sea, though, isn't it?
Sharp at sea, yeah. And that's what I think I like about it. Yeah, I sat and watched the ones you sent, so I had a bit of a binge one day. Did what I needed to do, and then I just sat in front of the telly one afternoon watching Hornblower, and it was fantastic.
Yeah,
just do things like that,
Some high-profile actors in there as well, isn't there?
Oh God, yeah. There's some very young. Oh, I didn't know they were in that. Well, there.
Yeah, Horatio, isn't it? His name, isn't it?
Yes, Ollie's right. Hornblower and Sharp are definitely in the same universe, aren't they?
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, they are. Yeah.
So I watched a bit of the Paralympics as well. It was just nice not to get up. I mean, Rocky got me out of bed one morning, and I thought, no, I'm not getting up yet. Sod this. He found it all strange.
So this week really is kind of like a return to work then.
It is, but it doesn't seem like I've been away. But
no,
I think I did a little bit of prep work last week. I think on Friday. Yeah. So I'm all set up for next week and practically the following week. Because it's easy just to do your little your points for each when I do my videos. That's easy. It's just a case of clicking and pasting. I took all this computer stuff down, right? When you make sure and it didn't work, I had to get my technical advisor in. Cool, Dave.
I might slow right down next year and just make the occasional video. I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up the same pace as I've been going.
Now the trouble is, you work. I don't. That's the issue. If I was still working, I couldn't pump this out like
No.
I think I'd be allowed to because they're a bit funny.
No, I mean I'm struggling to sort of do my stream and your stream, and just I have to sort of juggle things sometimes, and reluctantly, but it's too tiring to keep up with it.
I mean, I did put out that there was one video I put out that I've been working on it for a little while again because it's that one I did that road trip with Dave. I've been working on that for ages, and funny enough, it was finished. I finished it just before I was going on my brain. I thought I'll put that out.
I did want to jump on yesterday and talk about the Sleaford mods a bit. I did try the Dogs album, which is what was recommended. I was listening to it, and it started swearing and stuff, so I had to sort of turn it off because my kids were about.
Yeah.
Then I came back to it and sort of gave it a listen. And I mean, it was all right. I mean, it was kind of what I expected. That kind of punk, kind of UK punk sound. And I was like, this is okay, but it's not something I would perhaps go to and listen to. But it was all right. It was, maybe if I gave it a bit more time, I'll get into it a little bit more. But not really much to report other than that, really, to be honest with you.
That's all right. Well, I'll pass that on to Mike tomorrow.
I gave it a go.
Yeah, I think everyone enjoyed it actually. I had William Orbit, and I just couldn't get into it.
No.
There was a couple of bits with the Latino sound, and I love Latino music, so I like that. But no, I just can't do that. But then again, this is the guy that produced Ray of Light for Madonna, and that is brilliant. It's a good pop album. But I think with William Orbit, I appreciate what he does, and I respect that he is quite a good producer, engineer. And you can tell that, even though I don't like the music, when you're listening to it, I listen to a little bit under the headphones, and you can tell that this man knows exactly what he wants out to do in the studio. And he knows how to get them in the singing bit. I mean, not for me, but he got the best performances out of them artists. And fair play to him and total respect to the man. But I don't think I'll be listening to any more William Orbit.
No, I'm a bit of a. I need my own time to adapt to new music. You
Yeah.
know? Sometimes I have to wait till something gets like 5 years old to sort of start listening to it. You know, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 20 years to like the Smiths.
That's not uncommon though, is it? With the Smiths, it's a bit of a required taste, I think. The Smiths.
Yeah, when it
Not everybody likes Morrissey, do they?
No, I couldn't get out. What was, as my mate used to put it, why is there's a forest near us? And he used to, because he said he goes on top of the pot with half a salty forest in it coming out of his ass, you know. But I think he found out that was his comfort toy, his comforting thing.
I like the Smiths, but some of the songs I really do love. I think are fantastic, but some of them are just like meh. You know, it's not really. I don't think much of this song. It's a bit hit and miss.
Yeah, how are you feeling about this Oasis tour next year?
Yeah, I hope it's a success for the people that go. I really do. But the pricing on those tickets is absolutely obscene. You know, then you got the travel and everything else included. It's going to cost a fortune to go and watch them.
Now, when I went to see Queen at Knebworth Park, like in 1986, there was one price on the ticket, and everybody paid that, regardless if they were at the front, the back, the sides. I think it all was about 20 quid for the day, which was a lot of money in 1986.
Yeah.
But there was none of this, at the front, 500 quid to be in the front. No. Everyone paid their 30 whatever quid and we had a great day. None of this thing. And not Wembley, you know, at Wembley Stadium, you're paying more to stand on the pitch than Now, in my day, the cheap seats were standing. Would you pay 300 quid to stand for about 6 or 7 hours? No, I wouldn't.
No. Oasis live is like Marmite, isn't it? They're either fantastic or they're terrible. Even in the 90s, in their sort of heyday, they're either like up there, brilliant, or it was just awful. Liam Gallagher walked off, his voice went, you know, people started booing, blah, blah, blah. I heard it all before. And I can't think that Liam's voice, now that it's changed and he's got older, for age, smoking, drinking, and what have you, drugs, that it's going to hold up anywhere near as good as it was in the 90s when he was in his sort of young 20s. I just see him belt those tunes out like he used to. And having those back-to-back tours, you know, one day, then the next day, and so forth, his voice ain't going to hold up unless he sings really softly and not gives it his all just to sort of last the duration.
Yeah, I can see them having there, but it's going to be a fallout. I mean, I've been to concerts where, I mean, the classic example, and then a lot of you guys that actually saw Deep Purple at NEC in 1993, which was supposed to be their 30th anniversary tour. Ian Gillan and Richie Blackmore had a huge fight before the gig. Now, at the start of the gig, Richie Blackmore didn't come out for the intro bit of Highway Star. They didn't look at each other all night. And the encore was done without Richie Blackmore.
Yeah.
And it sort of spoiled the gig. Richie just was, you know, at the end of the day, if you have a feud with someone, when you get out on that stage, you give it all. I know there's been bands that have had fallouts before they go on stage, but they still go and do their stuff, and you wouldn't know. No, I moved on.
Not really your style, was it?
Yeah, oh, did someone thought there was a thing that Michael Nolan put on about double albums, and everyone was saying the White Album, and I just said it's shit.
What are you listening to at the moment, Ian? Apart from the ones you were you mentioned on your live stream.
The bands what I'm listening to. I'll tell you what I've been listening to a lot of, and that's Van Halen.
Yeah.
On I've now got about 4 or 5 of their albums on album. So I brought this one. In fact, I'll show you what I brought, and then we can carry on the conversation.
Right, you did it.
Yeah. Right. I brought that. All these I brought for a tenner for.
That's a good one.
Yeah, the debut album. So
Yeah.
I put that on, and then I put on 19. I kept just played the ones I've got after each other, and it was great. And I keep going back to this album now. It's raw. It's just, and I remember this coming out, and it just blew your head away. I absolutely love this.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with those albums.
Now, this album is just things. So I really want to get the ones in, but Van Halen 2, Children and Women First. So if I see them tomorrow, that'll be what I'll be getting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Now, to make up the 4, there was not much I could see, so I brought my least favourite Status Quo album.
All right. What's that called?
Ain't Complaining. It's not the best album. It's the one that's got that awful Burning Bridges on it.
Is that late 80s?
That's 1988.
88.
It was the second album after the reunion. It's very 80s. It's rather crap. But
I thought it was later rather than earlier.
Because it's a Quo album. So
Yeah.
I've been listening to that, and the other artist I've been listening to quite a lot is Wings.
Wings.
Band on the Run.
Classic.
First time I haven't. My dad had this on vinyl, so I used to keep nicking his.
Yeah.
But I love this album. Absolutely brilliant. And the other one I got, Wings one, is one of my favourites, Venus and Mars. I adore this, and they're all in good nick. So that's another band I could look out for tomorrow. I want some more Wings. But yeah, I've been listening to that. I've been listening to some Jean-Michel Jarre.
I'd rather listen to Wings than the Beatles at the moment, I think.
Yeah. And the other person I've been listening to, because he sadly passed away last week, and that's Herbie Flowers from Sky.
All right.
And I had War of the Worlds on as well, from start to finish.
Yeah.
I've got the show when they first did it on stage, and Herbie was playing on that. That's what I put it on to watch him do Horsell Common, that iconic dun 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 dun. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I was listening to a few 12-inch singles over the weekend and getting my 12-inch singles ready for when I do the video with Richard.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So, playing a few 80s and 90s tracks. Listening to a bit of Jimmy Nail. Rather quite like it. One particular album I think is very underrated. Very underrated. Big River.
Oh, that is a good album.
Yeah. And of course it's got the Neil Straight guitarist on the song on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely song. Really nice song. Such a good song. In fact, I went out and got the 7-inch single, but I'll say that for another video.
Yeah. The other thing I've been listening to is stuff. You remember what we was talking about last time after we'd finished our thing about that little project I'm doing? And you thought, wow, that'll be a good one. I've been listening to albums for that. I'm starting to get the 10 albums together now.
All right.
I'm not going to say too much because that'll spoil it, but you know what we were talking about. So I've been listening to that.
Well, there's a couple of secret projects, so to speak, isn't there? That was one of them.
Yeah, there are some secret projects.
Hmm.
We don't, when we, people think, we don't, but we do. We are thinking ahead. And I've got a couple of big projects. So,
Don't want to give too much away, do you?
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a question I want to ask you. I did to the Tom Petty solo albums this week.
Well, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but I did. Wildflowers. Do you think it should have been called a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers album, considering everybody on it was connected with the Heartbreakers?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Who did we have? Mike Campbell.
Yeah.
Harry Epstein. He was playing keyboards. Steve Ferroni was on drums, and Tom Petty. That's the Heartbreakers to me.
Yeah. Harry. Was Harry around at that time? Was it?
Yeah, Harry was. He was.
He was poached by Bill Shatner,
yeah, he took over from Ray, didn't he? But then when Howie left, Ray come back, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, all that was missing was Stan, wasn't it? Really.
It's a nice album. It's a nice album.
Yeah, I like them three. That was a tough ranking for me because I think the lowest one was they were all high. But yeah, I won't spoil it because I know you'll watch it. But yeah,
no,
I'm going to do Mudcrutch as well.
Mudcrutch, yeah. Scare Easy is a great track. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I love that track. It's probably
a great track, isn't it?
That sort of his side project. I think that's one of the best tracks. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
I would put that in my top 20 Tom Petty songs ever.
Yeah, I probably would. Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. And it's just, I know it sounds so stupid, but it sounds so Tom Petty. Like it could just be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and not Mudcrutch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It fits in so well.
Oh, good evening, Jen. I didn't see you in there. Sorry, I'm not ignoring
you. Yeah, sorry, the comments are going past and I'm not keeping up with them.
It's hard sometimes, isn't it, to keep up with what's going on.
Marty says, I don't hold much hope for new Oasis material. Surely it's now Liam singing High Flying Bird songs. I doubt that will even happen, to be honest with you. I reckon they'll just do the tour and that'll be it. I can't see anything else develop.
It's money driven, isn't it? I mean, Liam's had to pay for a divorce. It cost him a few quid, didn't it? So
20 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't see being much atmosphere on stage, to be quite honest. I really can't.
No.
I mean, if Liam comes on and just does what he used to do, put his hands behind his back and sing, you're supposed to be happy on a reunion tour.
Well, they're not a happy band, so to speak, are they? It's they're a bit punk, aren't they?
Yeah, who else is in the return?
I don't know.
Have they got any of the original members, or are they just getting the two?
I expect it's the two that they took on in the 2000s, in the early 2000s. I could be wrong.
I think the only person that's going to be quite happy that they're playing together again is Mum.
Yeah. I imagine so. New material is coming. Is that being confirmed? Because I've not heard anything.
I haven't seen anything.
Andy Bell, Jen, and Bonehead. Oh, Bonehead is be returning.
So it is a proper.
Yeah.
You're talking of things like that. Obviously, I'm on one of the Status Quo Facebook pages, and if someone puts a picture of the band that isn't the Frantic Floor, they say things like, "Oh, that's not the proper quo. It's Francis Ross's backup band." And I always put. Can I just point out a couple of things? Andy Bown has been in Status Quo since 1973. He played on the Hello album, and he toured with them since 1973. John Edwards, the bass player, has been the bass player far longer than Alan Lancaster was. And then I said, if you support a football team, I put him on and says, is Manchester United not the same Manchester United, even though George Best and Dennis Law and Bobby Charlton are no longer there? Do you stop supporting that team? No.
No.
If you're a fan of a band, you stick with them. If you're a true fan, you will stick through them. Okay, there's periods of any band that you don't like. There's quite a bit of Quo's history I'm not a particular great fan of, as you know. But doesn't mean that I don't dislike the band and I don't poo-poo anyone that comes through the band. I think there's one guy I got in this conversation. I says, look, if you had a band and someone left, would you say, that's it, I'm done, finished? No, you'd replace them.
Yeah.
I think people forget that
bands, don't they? All bands lose members, don't they?
Yeah. There's not many bands that have been the same band since day one.
Yeah, the original 4 or 5.
Yeah. Queen until Freddie died. That was the same lineup. Okay, they've got Queen and Adam Lambert. Now, the one that really, it was ZZ Top. Until Dusty passed away, that 3 had been together 50 years. They've carried on. They've got the Dusty's old bass tech, so he knows all the stuff anyway, and they're still playing. You just can't.
Well, no, that's right. I mean, Liam left. Well, Noel split up the band, and Liam continued the Oasis under a different name, basically, didn't he? And Noel went off to do his own thing. But no.
Rob Candom, all bands lose members like Rachel. Same on any stream. You get people come and go. It's called rock and roll.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, but I mean, Oasis is the 2 brothers, isn't it? It can't be separate. No. I agree with Marty there. But certainly with Oasis. But that's not all the same. With different bands.
It's like the Who. It's just Roger and Pete.
Brothers are notoriously don't get on in music, do they?
No.
I mean, we see it so many times. The Kinks, and there's other examples as well. I
mean, they used to fight, didn't they? On the stage.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, the 2 sisters. They've had their hissy fits.
Yeah. Siblings, it's notoriously goes wrong, doesn't it?
The Knopfler brothers.
Yeah.
The only one that really didn't fight, and that was AC/DC. Malcolm and Angus never, ever fell out.
No.
They probably had disagreements, but they were very professional about it. So I think that was one X. There are 1 or 2. And, of course, the Mayle brothers, Ron
and the Beach Boys, like they sort of had a bit of a...
They did. I mean, in the 60s, they left, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because at one stage, I think it was in 67, 68, the Bee Gees had a song in the top 10, and so did Robbie.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't understand why people go, oh, just carry on listening to the music.
Yeah, it doesn't. You don't unsupport them, but maybe not have the same interest maybe as once before. Like different bands, maybe like say like AC/DC. Some people like the the bottom years, so to speak, and not so
Yes,
much,
and Brian, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
not. But not that doesn't mean to say I don't support them no more. You know
no,
what I mean? Just but I like that era better. I like him as a singer better than so and so.
I think the one that really hacks me off is the Iron Maiden one with people thinking that Yannick Gear should leave.
Hmm.
I don't think they realise that what work he does in the studio. He comes up with lots of stuff. And there is a thing that Steve Harris has always wanted a 3-guitar band. So when Adrian came back, he just got what he wanted. 3 lead guitarists, which helps their sound on stage. I've seen them with the 3, and it makes it a richer sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pink Floyd's a really weird one because when they reformed in '87, Richard Wright wasn't in the band, although he played on the album and toured.
How many members have Fleetwood Mac had?
Oh God, jeez,
Loads, American and British, aren't they? They're American band. Well, they were British when they started.
They were a blues band, and then they went all funky soul, and then when Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie, it became a bit more rock. I mean, they've got the bloke from Crowded House is in with them.
I thought Crowded House got their own band going.
Yeah, they have.
And they're still going, aren't they?
Yeah.
They release albums quite regularly, don't they, Crowded House? The last.
Yeah, I think they're another fine example.
They are. They're credit where credit's due. They keep things going, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, you take Lynyrd Skynyrd. There's no original members in that band now because they're all dead.
No. How many lead singers has?
My camera's playing up.
Go and avatar mode if it's easier. How many lead singers has Iron Maiden had? Is it 2?
Iron Maiden. There was Paul Di'Anno was in the band. Clive Burr, Dennis Stratton, Baze Blaisley. So they've had their members and the people that are in the band now. Marillion have had quite a few people before they were famous. But they haven't had much change since they signed the record deal. They've only had Mick Pointer on drums, replaced by Ian Mosley, and Fish, and Steve Hogarth.
Yeah, we seem to have lost Ian. Oh, he's back. You're right.
Yes, if it plays up, I'll plug it, unplug it, and start again, and then I'll
just flickering a bit.
Yeah. Oh, it's gone again. Right, I'm going to unplug it, and I'll come back. All right.
Yeah, all right, no worries.
I've got the link.
Okie dokie. Right, okay, Richard. Let's get the link out there. There you go. There's a link out there. Anyone wants to jump in on the conversation? I'm sure Ian will be back shortly once he sorted his camera out. You like Ian's avatar, do you, Jenny? Frankie Valli. Is he 90s? Wow. Wow. I say. Good for him. Bloody check. How you doing?
I'm trying to work this. I don't know why it does it. If this camera. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Richard. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. I've got a new camera, as you can see, which
I was just going to say,
Nice.
God, our videos will be even more flashier now.
the
Yeah,
reason why is I tried to get on this stream last week, but the mic didn't work, and I thought
that's right. Yeah.
And then whenever Simon messaged me, I thought I better check this to see if it's working, and the mic still would not work. So I bought another camera, basically.
Right. Okay.
Well, I took all my computer down, cleaned it. You know, when you put it all back together, it's got glitches. It's glitching again. So
My mic plays up sometimes as well. I have to sort of tweak things and stuff.
I realized my mic fell on the hearth. Must have been a couple of weeks ago, and that's probably what did it. So I just threw it in the bin and got another. They're cheap as chips.
Yeah.
They're cheaper than an LP anyway. Put it that way from Amazon. So you get it the next day. So
talking about boots, did you see what I got for 3 out 4 albums I got for a tenner?
I did indeed. The Two Wings ones,
Yeah.
the Van Halen one, and the brilliant Complaining. Status Quo do ZZ Top with the title. Okay, the album's not great, but the title track.
I think I was more pleased. I know Brand on the Rune's brilliant, but I was so pleased to have Venus and Mars.
Yeah, they'll take you back, listen to the Crossroads thing.
Yeah.
Way back to the old days at 6:30 at night or whatever time Crossroads was
Tell
on.
you what, I've played this so much since I brought it.
Do you know the way you mentioned Wings Greatest, which is a fantastic album? I totally agree. But there's a top 10 hit single that did not get on it, and it's on Venus and Mars, and that is Listen to What the Man Said. #1 in America as well, and it did not get on the album for some reason. And it's my second
one of my favourite songs on that album.
So, Simon, I sent you a message today. I will need your email address. So, because whenever I set up Zoom for tomorrow at 10, I have to send you the password. And because I've tried this, they've asked for an email address rather than the way I used to be able to do it. So I need your email address, and then I'll send you the passcode and all anyway, just in case. It just allows me to set it up for you. So if you and you'll probably get an email from them with all the details, but I'll send the details anyway on Messenger.
Well, I can put my email address in the private chat here if you want.
Well, you could do that. Yeah. Or you just send it to me. Just send it to me via Messenger.
I'll do that.
And I've also replied to you, Ian. You never read your emails.
I did read it.
Very well do not, and I know you don't.
I did say I went brilliant. See you there.
Well, you know what? I never read my emails, so I don't.
Nobody reads emails.
I was actually sitting at the computer when it came through.
Oh, were you? All right, okay.
Yeah, and I went, oh, he's replied.
Can I show you an album?
Sure. Yeah, I'll make you big.
Through the post today. And it's from my 4th favorite artist of all time. And it's a fantastic album. However, I feel robbed. I feel cheated. And it is this one here, Nick Lowe, Indoor Safari, which is a great album, great cover. This girl, I don't even know her name, but she's been on the cover of his last 3 albums. And you can see that she's getting older because the first one was 2011, which is 13 years ago, and you can see that she's actually aging. Now, the reason why I feel cheated about this is because there's 12 songs on it, and only 3 of them are brand new. All the other songs have been released as 12-inch parts of 12-inch singles, and a 7-inch single over the past so many years, 4 or 5 years. So to me, this is actually a compilation, but it is down as a brand new album, which means I feel cheated. However, it's still a really, really good album with a really nice singer as well. And it's got one of those die-cut inners. And it is American, even though it's down as being Britain. And the reason I say is the lip. The Americans in sleeves or inner sleeves seem to always have a little lip to make it easier to open them, whereas the British don't. But released today, and it's going to be reviewed next Friday on Ranking the Obscure.
It is. Thank you for the plug, Richard.
It's got that kind of 50s album cover, isn't it? That kind of stuff.
Again. I've got the CD as well. Hold on, I'll see if I got the CD. So, yeah, it is a really, really good album, but it's just so disappointing because the 12-inch singles were quite pricey, and some of them are completely replicated. So to me, it's a compilation. But there's about 3 new songs on it, but still, I'll take it. It's a new Nick Lowe album. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to say too much because there'll be no point doing the video, but I have listened to it today.
Mm-hmm.
And my first initially listen to it, it's a pleasant album.
It is pleasant.
Even though I've heard some of the, as you say, I've heard the songs before, doesn't make it bad. It's just nice to hear a rocky Nick Lowe album.
Yeah. He's in his 70s now, so he's not going to be rocking out or anything like that there, the way some people are, like the Stones or whatever, who are in their 80s and they're still rocking out. I think whenever Nick turned about 50, he just slowed everything down and made it nice, basically, from about 1994 onwards.
Anyway, my 12 inches, all in this box, Richard.
Right.
So all ready to go.
I have looked at mine. I haven't picked mine out yet. So that's one per letter of the alphabet. Is that correct? Right. That's
yeah.
And we won't say, and I don't want to know. I know you don't have the full range of the alphabet, neither do I. But between us, we may have, but I don't want to know which ones you're missing. I want it to be a surprise. So we may have the full range.
Okay.
So it could take 2 videos, Simon, unless you want to do it on your channel through the live stream, which is not recorded or not sent out live, which is fine by me if you want to do it that way, or you can do it by Zoom on mine. But I have a maximum of 40 minutes, and then I have to go into a new Zoom. So
we should be able to wrap it up in 40 minutes, I would have thought, Richard.
Sometimes it's easy to, sometimes it's not. Because as long as we don't talk too much about each record, just a wee quick, and here it is, my A.
Be brief, yeah.
Which is Father Abraham and the Smurf song. For my A, I'm only joking about it.
Well, a little bit for the ones I actually did buy. There's not many in there which I actually did buy when they came out, but it's all a little bit of time. Yeah.
The majority of mine, I didn't. Well, I'm going to put in some that I bought when it came out, but I'm not going to include a David Bowie one because
what's the betting? What's the bet? And we pull out the same record.
We do it all the time.
You know what? I was thinking about that because for a certain letter, and I don't want to say the letter or I'll give it away.
No.
Put it this way, I've got 3 12-inch singles by a certain artist, which I know that you like.
Right.
And I'm going to pull one of them out, and there's a reason I'm pulling one out, and it's for the B-side, not just the A-side, the B-side. So that's a hint. That's a hint.
That's one thing I liked about 12-inch singles. You'd always get a track that's not on the album. It's just, it was made especially for the 12-inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And sometimes you'll get the 7-inch version on the back of it, won't you?
That's the ones I liked, Simon. I liked side A to be the extended version, but the single version I wanted on the B side along with the ordinary single B side as well.
Yeah.
So you got the normal edit on the B side with the ordinary B side.
I think
Marillion were brilliant. Marillion were brilliant at that.
Some of the 12-inch songs are just too long, or it doesn't sound right. You know, the 7-inch version is a lot shorter and sweeter.
There's one example I'll give you for that is way back in 1983. I bought the 12-inch, which I'm not going to show tomorrow night, of the Human League's "Keep Feeling Fascination," which I loved, and I loved the start of it. But because the start of it had almost like a bass sound before the horns went in. On the 12-inch, that was gone. It was just the horns, and I never liked it as much. So I never actually got the 7-inch single of "Keep Feeling Fascination." I got it on a CD, but I was always disappointed with that. So some 12 inches, no, not the best. However, I would be happy if the 7-inch had been on the B side as well.
Yeah, it's like the 12-inch of Moonlight Shadow. There's extra bits on that, which is
nice. I like it, but I still prefer the 7-inch version.
Mm-hmm. Overstay their welcome a bit, can't they?
They can, but yeah.
I mean, I think on Tricks of the Light, you get the instrumental version of Tricks of the Light, which is quite nice.
Does anybody really give a crap about instrumental versions of a song? Really? No. To me, that's just lazy. Take the vocals off and throw it on as an extra track. No.
Mm.
I'm not going to give too much away because Richard and I are having we'll tell you, we're having a bit of a confab on Sunday about what we're doing with our Saturday stuff, and I've got an absolute corker for Christmas.
Well, that's good. I'll tell you one thing. You know that one that you suggested about lyrics? No, not doing it.
I can confirm on that. I only found 3 songs.
No. And in order to do that, you have to play the music.
Yeah.
And then you're getting into Peter Kay territory here, and we will look absolutely stupid doing it because he's the master of it.
Yes, he is the master, isn't he?
Misheard lyrics.
Well, there's ones like on Super Trooper. She's saying it's like on Super Trooper. She says Glasgow, but it sounds like she's going to Tesco. And the other one I came up with, So Lonely, that sounds like Sting singing Sue Lawley.
It does sound like Sue Lawley.
Sue Lawley!
All being well after Saturday, Richard, we should think about doing this 90s
yes.
thing. This is what we initially planned, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was you and Ian, and then Ian invited me in. Yeah. That's the tier ranking one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do the heavy lifting on that one, chaps.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was tier. Was it? We're just talking about the tracks. But we can do a tier.
Yeah, I thought I was going to do because of the one that was done on Jimmy's, that there was an absolute humongous stuff in the top 20 or 30. I thought we was going to look at the ones that should have been in that and the better songs of the 90s.
Right. If you're going to do it that way, the best way, if you're going to pick 30 songs, we're going to have to give 10 songs each and mix them up. Because the 10 songs I would rate quite highly. And then you're not going to know the 10 songs. Okay, some of them may match on some, but you will give 10 songs. But I would need to know what your 10 songs are because I need to know that I know them. Because I don't want to be saying, oh, never heard that before, so I can't comment, which is not fair on the song because it could be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I thought we were going to name songs which should have been the number one.
Right.
There could be any song of the 90s you could pick and you say this should have been number one, or this should have been.
We could do that, yes. And we don't have to do it as a tier.
No.
Yeah. And then are we doing this on which of yours 2 channels? Because I can't put the wee things up.
I'll do it. I'll put all the pictures up, so you don't have to even show out.
So that's 10 songs you think should. Well, that's very subjective, but that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But you have to be realistic as well. Like you can't say,
of course, yeah.
I think I don't know, so the hardest punk band in New York or whatever it is should have been number one in the 90s because they're my favorite band. But you have to be realistic.
Well, some of them you could be, and some of them you could say, well, I like this to be number one or whatever. You know, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, I will sort out. I wonder how people. This is how we all talk behind the scenes as well. This is how we do. I'll set up a little meeting and we'll discuss it, shall we? And I'll send you.
Well, I've already got one straight.
I've got two in my head already.
I've got three.
I've got four. So the first one that comes under your head is obviously the one that you really, really, really thought should have been number one. I need to check that it wasn't number one. Might have been, but I don't think it was.
Yes. So while you're doing that, chaps, I'll be up in. I'll be going up to Leeds with Nick, Tamika, and Mike because we're going to the Leeds Record Fair, which is going to be cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward.
I doubt you'll see a load of Status Quo.
Well,
you're bound to.
I might get some more Status Quo. Depends what I see.
You will.
I'll tell you what you will find, and it will be very cheap, and it's Wings at the Speed of Sound.
That is a definite.
Yeah. That'll be silence on it.
That will be in everybody's bin.
Yeah.
And possibly
London Town.
London Town as well, yeah. And maybe Red Road Speedway. Red Road Speedway is a very good album. That's the one before Band on the Run. I rate it very, very highly.
I got the special edition of that. It's got all the sort of extra tracks on it.
If I see Back to the Egg, I'll get that because that is a lot of people not very keen on that, are they?
That's his last one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the one where all the Beatles channels rave about it now. They think it's the bee's knees, and they think it's one of the best albums McCartney ever did. It's not. It's average.
It gets quite contentious, doesn't it? All this kind of stuff.
It's an average album.
I think the best two albums he ever did are the ones I've got here.
You see, I would say you've got one of the best, Band on the Run. My favorite is the Dead. Okay, it's not Wings. It's McCartney.
Ram is just an awesome album.
But my second favorite Wings album, as in Wings, would be either London Town or Red Road Speedway.
I love the version of A Little Luck on London Town, the extended bit at the end, that lovely synth, and they got that boop, 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 boop in it as well. I love that.
That was the number one in America. I just thought it was. Are you ready for this? Bland. I just thought it was a really bland song.
I don't suppose Ram is a Wings album, is it?
No, it's actually Paul and Linda McCartney.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's what I like about that Wings Greatest Hits album, because it's got Uncle Albert and Admiral Wolseley on it, and that's just part of the.
I love that.
Yeah, one of the best comps ever made, I'll say.
Still doesn't have Listen to What the Man Said on it, though. That's what really, really gets me. And there's a track on it which everybody in America loves, and I can't stand it. And it's Junior's Farm. I think it's one of the worst things he's ever done. It's a really, really bog standard rocker. And if you'd have taken that off and bunged on Listen to What the Man Said, or even the country-ish, the B-side of Junior's Farm, Sally G, I thought was far better as well. But...
I like Sally G.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's there's some great tracks on Band on the Run, isn't there? You one of the ones we featured on one of our videos is on this, isn't it? What one is it? Mrs. Vanderbilt. That's it.
It's very catchy indeed. To me, that's the closest Wings ever got to the Beatles album. Because Let Me Roll It sounds like John Lennon's song. I do think that No Words sounds like a George Harrison song. And if there was ever a song to be sung by Ringo, it would be Picasso's Last Words. So to me, that's the closest you ever got in sounding to a Beatles album, and it is Swing's best.
Yeah, I had that. I played that very loud the other day from the windows open.
Without even looking, Ian, without turning around, can you name all the people on the cover? Don't look. See, apart from Paul and Denny.
Paul and Denny, you've got John Conte.
Yes.
Clement Freud.
Yes.
Kenny Lynch.
Very good. I didn't think you'd get that one. Yes.
Linda on there?
Linda's on there, yes.
Yeah, Linda's on there.
Saturday night after match of the day. Jason Gibbs. And Saturday night after match of the day.
Parky.
Yeah. I think that's it. Oh, one more. Dracula.
Oh, Christopher Lee, of course.
Yeah, of course. There you go.
Yeah, that must have been quite confusing for America because have they heard of Parky?
And John Conte.
John Conte was a boxer. Or
Right.
Kenny Lynch,
Yeah.
you know, or Clement Freud. He's a silly Billy. I love he used to do them adverts, didn't he, with the dog?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the only impression I'm doing tonight.
I'm giving you 8.5 out of 10 for that one. That was very good. Off the cuff, I'll give you an extra mark as well.
I have my moments of madness.
Are you starting to sort of get the feel back for making more content now, Richard? Are you starting to sort of...
I might make one tomorrow, actually, tomorrow morning, because I'm surprised I haven't seen any on Herbie Flowers. So I'm going to maybe
I'm doing one in October. I'm going to pick my favourite tracks
and show some of the albums that he features on. Because if you think about it, he features in an awful lot of albums I've got. My top 2 artists of all time, he featured on David Bowie and T-Rex.
Yeah.
I'd imagine you've got a lot of stuff.
And then, obviously, Transformer, he was the one that devised that Walk on the Wild Side bass line, which is the most famous part of the song, apart from the dirty words in it.
And of course, I'm not going to give too much away because I'm doing something, but he played with Brian Ferry, of course.
I've got the Brian Ferry. He played on Carrickfergus, beautiful song from The Bright Strip Bear, and obviously Blue Mink and Sky as well. So I'm going to have a wee look tonight.
John,
yes,
so, isn't
I
there?
know. So much.
And the War of the Worlds. I mean, I was saying to Simon.
Yeah.
Could you do a top 37-inch singles of yours, Richard? Your favourite top 30 singles?
Oh, that's so difficult.
You can do it.
Oh, no. Well, put it this way. If I had to, I would have to say only one artist per single, but then that's not fair. Because
it's tough. But it has to be that way, though, doesn't it?
It has to be that way because I could have 10 Bowie, 10 T-Rex, 10 ABBA, and that's my top 30.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
One artist.
Oh,
top
man,
30.
it's so difficult.
Be a challenge for you.
I'll accept the challenge.
And you've got a lot of singles to go through, haven't you? 7-inch singles.
I have over 3,000 of them.
It's a lot. Jeez.
I have over 3,000 vinyl albums. God almighty.
Jesus.
And CDs, so.
But you'll know in your head, wouldn't you, what
I know what the main ones are.
your favourite.
I have to have them as singles. Like, I'll give an example of a single I do not have, which would be in my top 30, and that's Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone. That would be in my top 30, but I don't have it, so
If you don't have it, it can't be in there.
exactly. I know.
Let's go out and buy it quickly.
Yeah, talking to Bob, I've been playing a lot of Bob, but I put on Blonde the other day and just played it all the way through.
Oh, it's a really good album. One song I'm not keen on, and that's Leopard Skin Box Hat. It's too bluesy, but the rest of the album. But I was watching your video, Simon, and I was going, oh my God. And you know what I'm talking about here? Whenever you show 3 albums
Yeah.
at the very end of your video,
Yeah.
and you showed the price tag of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, God, I feel for you. Listen, I would have done the same.
It was a lot of money. I don't normally spend.
No.
But
Well,
it was 3 albums for a deal for the 3. I wouldn't
that's
buy
not bad.
you know, and I bought $250, which is not bad. I'm not going to get that many places, and they're going to hold the value, if not increase, in the next few years. Definitely,
If you don't play them.
Yeah, which I'm not like to pay that
Would
much.
you not be tempted to buy those 3 albums as reissues as playing copies?
I've got them already.
Oh, have you? All right. Okay.
I've got all of them already on 180 gram.
Right.
vinyl.
Okay.
It's just those first were there, and I thought, I really fancy having a few of their first in the collection. So I gave it about a week. I was thinking about it, and I went back in there and said, yeah, let's have them then if you've still got them. And I said, how much do you want for them if I buy all 3? And he said $250. So, done. That was it. And he's got a Stones, not a Stones. What was it? He had. He's got something else in there which I was interested in as well, which is like a sort of a box set.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that's about 300 quid, I think. So, it's a lot of money.
This is the thing. I'm even toying about ABBA. Have got a new coming out next month, a 3 LP greatest hits with all the singles, apart from Thank You for the Music, but anyway, and it includes the Void singles on 3 discs, 3 LPs. And do you know how much Amazon are looking for it? £103.
Right.
For a triple album, and it looks really, really good. Now, I also looked in the ABBA store, and it's about 93 in it, so about £10-15 cheaper. But I'm thinking to myself, do I really want it? It's an expanded version of the singles, the first 10 years. It's now called the first 50 years or whatever it is, which has got 4 extra tracks or 5 extra tracks from Voyage and a couple of other ones. But it just looks so good. And you compare that to the CD, which is expensive as a double CD. It's $19.99, but you're still saving 80 quid.
Yeah.
I nearly got the ABBA's Greatest Hits, the one was sitting on the benches.
Oh, Ian, you should have bought that.
No, it looked like someone had gone over it with a spiral graph.
Oh, well,
on the vinyl. Always look at the vinyl, and it was, I don't know, someone had their dinner on it. If it had been in good nick, I'd have had that.
Here's one for you to ponder over. And if you had to pick 3 vinyl albums from your collection, because those are the only 3 you're ever allowed to keep, and you'll never get any more, and you can't buy any more. Those are the 3. One of mine would be the ABBA's Greatest Hits on the Park Bench. So the other one would be Diamond Dogs, because it's my favourite album of all time. And I'm not too sure what the third one would be.
Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Probably it as well, actually, yeah.
Out of the Blue.
I might try and sneak it in the sleeve of the of the ABBA one.
The Quo album.
Oh, the 74 one.
Yeah.
With Break the Rules.
And Slow Train and Backwater, and that's my favourite. That would be the 3 I would have to keep.
What about you, Simon?
It's so tough.
Would you pick Sergeant Pepper?
He better do, as he won a competition with it.
I don't think I would, surprisingly.
Would you try and get one from different decades to have a sort of a range?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I'll probably go with Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. Oasis debut album, definitely maybe. A third would be difficult. I might just go for something like, I don't know, maybe the Sex Pistols, just to have a bit of change there, you know.
Pet Sounds, I bought that on CD years ago, and I like the singles, and I just could not get into it at all. And then the first track that really came to me after a while was "You Still Believe in Me," which I think is beautiful. And then the next one was "I'm Waiting for the Day." But those two, plus "Wouldn't It Be Nice," "God Only Knows," and "Sloop Down B" were the only ones I liked. And then I had to travel to hospital. I was visiting somebody, and I thought, I'll throw this in. And it was quite late at night, and I really, really whacked it up. And for the first time, that album just hit me. I thought, my God, that's a bloody good album. That is such a good album. It took so long. There's only one track that I still struggle with, and that's "Carol I Know," and apparently that's the second best song off the album.
Yeah, it's one of the best, isn't it?
No, I still struggle with that. And that was actually the first single to have been released off that album, I believe. But under the name Brian Wilson, not under the name of the Beach Boys. It's the same recording, mind. So.
Yeah, I think that'll be probably my three. I love Sgt. Pepper, but I've heard it so many times. I've given it a lot of time. I can't go back to it as frequently as I can. Some of those other albums, you know.
Have you put in your three singles for Battle Royale 2?
I've got one in mind, and it's an absolute cracker. I just need two more.
Okay.
There's some really good ones gone in, I can tell you.
Well, my one has won it. It's definitely won it. If it hasn't won it, then it's a disgrace, and I shall be unsubscribing.
Well, give me 2 seconds.
I'm going to have to compete. I'm the reigning champion. I have to.
Yeah, the reigning champion. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's. I'll do the primaries ones, the ones that are definitely in at the moment. We have got Black Knight, Deep Purple, Cars, Gary Newman. I wonder who that came from. Gino. I Want to Be Adored, Stone Roses. Imagine, My Generation, Smells Like Teen Spirit, We're an American Band, What a Waste, and of course Wuthering Heights.
Wuthering Heights, the best single ever released. Well, I've just given away my top 30 singles.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away. Keep it to yourself. Somebody might steal it.
Well, I don't know. The secondary. There's some good ones in the secondary that I would have thought that to get into the thing. We've got Heroes and Life on Mars, Love Reign Over Me, No Woman No Cry, On Storyteller's Night for Magnum, Our House, Satisfaction, This Charming Man, Virginia Plain, and Won't Get Fooled Again.
Virginia Plain is very good.
What's in the thirds? There's some great ones in the thirds. We've got This Perfect Day, The Saints, Our Friends Electric, Don't Fear the Reaper, Eaton Rifles, Killer Queen, Silver Machine, Stand and Deliver, Teenage Kicks, Vienna, and We Are Pigs by Suede.
So where's my Smurf song with Father Abraham? Here, a question. If you don't get enough for the 32, you're actually going to put the B ones on.
that's what the secondary's on. They're going to go on a wheel. Say we only get 28. To make it up to 32, we're going to do a little video with the wheel going round, and the first 5, whatever, come off. They go into the competition.
All right. Okay.
So it's like a lucky draw.
Question for you, Richard. Have you shown every single record in your collection on your channel?
No. I've shown every album. Well, I have shown every album because I did a series of every vinyl album I have. However, there's some that do not get filed away in that and are ready to be not shipped out, probably dumped, like some crappy things like.
That's a bit different then, isn't it?
You know, they're double copies as well. Right. I don't show, and then there's some easy listening stuff like Nat King Cole and all I didn't show because they're not filed away. But I have done the A to Z and then all the specialists over. I think it was 39 videos. And that's whenever I decided to take a break.
You've done virtually everything, haven't you? I'd say like everything you could probably anyone what you could do, you've done it more than likely.
Done like you compare my output to Ian's. Ian's done 4 times the amount of videos I've done, and I've been doing it for twice as long as him. I'm over 500 videos on my channel. It says 500 and whatever, but there is about 10 or between 10 and 20 that I made private.
Yeah.
I haven't for a while, competitions or contests about a month or 2 months after the contest ended, that I tend to just make that private. There's no point in having it hanging about.
But you tend to stick within the vinyl realm, don't you?
I do.
It sort of goes outside of that field, doesn't it, and do other things.
Now, I did a video showing all my vinyl albums and the state of my CDs, which is a mess. However, changes are going to happen in this house because next year, my father died last year, and the will go through and all the rest of it. And it's decided that my brother, I'm not married, so my brother and his wife are wanting to come and live here as well, which I'm happy enough with because it's company. So all the rooms are being chopped and changed about. So the room where all my CDs are in is going to be their bedroom. And they're now all in boxes. So I cannot even show CDs anymore because they're all stacked away. And then we're going to take one of the living rooms and put a partition. And then I'm going to get a lot of CD things like that. That's why I was asking you the other week, where did you get them? Because that's the sort of thing I'm looking to buy to start storing and putting the CDs into order.
I got that on eBay, but I mean, there's plenty of other places you can get them.
And I've got 3,000, so I'll never get them all like that. But I do have a lot of those sort of cases.
Yeah, a lot of these upstairs in the loft with my CDs. Yeah. I've put them in genre kind of order. So like this is basically all rock. And over the other side is all sort of like alternative, and behind through the door is indie and alternative. And all my pop, all the other categories are all in boxes because I'm just not likely to listen to them. I mean, I could on my computer listen to them, but not listen to it.
Like the first thing I did is I ripped this and put it on my computer. That's the very first thing I did.
That's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
Everything that comes through, I rip it, so I haven't got to worry about digging it out. All my compilations and they're all boxed. But I will be sort of culling on those, I think, at some point. I've just got too many compilations and I don't really need them. I like having sort of exclusive stuff,
I've also got it in my head, like I'm 58, I'll be 59 next year. So you're talking about 8 more years of working, and then it's retirement. So what the hell am I going to do for retirement? And I've got, as you say, an awful lot of vinyl records. Now, if vinyl records are still worth anything in those days, I might even start up a little sort of a Discogs sales business to try and get rid of it. You know,
when I knew that I had to,
Talking about that last week actually with Michael.
yeah, downsizing. I thought I'll put them all on iPod. And I ended up having to get off eBay 360 gig iPods to put all my CDs on. So I dread to think how many CDs I got.
You can get bigger hard drives now, Ian, though, which can cover that easily. Like terabyte.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm going to do, I think,
and they're quite affordable now as well. Which is good.
I've got a program that I can, and I've got every single that's on my iPods on one of these terabyte. I'll show you which one it is. This one here. It's got every single CD that I've owned. It's all on there, and I mean, this is I think this is a 2 terabyte, and when you plug it in, it only takes up that much space. But everything that all my CDs I had to put on there.
What would you do if that broke?
Got a backup.
Have you?
Back up with another one, a bigger one.
I have got a backup.
I've got 3 hard drives connected to the computer. I've got a 20 terabyte huge hard drive, which can basically have everything on there.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 smaller ones, but I have copies of my music on all 3.
All right. Okay.
Just in case one died or whatever. But it's just sort of secure. It's just in case, basically.
Yeah, and the other thing I've got is it's a program. I think I paid $15.99 for it. It's one of them programs where you can actually extract whatever's on your pod. So if, say, it crashed and I lost everything, all I would have to do is plug in each iPod and just do click, 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 and it'll transfer it onto a disc. Right. So I'm pretty well covered, but I don't think I'll ever replace everything on vinyl again. I just haven't got the space no more. So that what I do with albums now, I just buy them ones that I really love. Like I want to get all the ELO on vinyl. I want to get the rest of the Wings. There's a certain bands that I want to get on there. I mean, I would never want to. I've got all my Slade on here, all my Slade CDs on here. I don't think I'll ever get them all on album. I haven't got the space.
Here's one for you. If you could pick one, what would be your biggest grail? It doesn't necessarily have to mean the most expensive album. Now, Simon, I'm sure those Oasis ones were your grails now, or then, but now you've got them. What would be the album that you would love to get the most, no matter what the price?
The debut album, the first 2 albums of Status Quo, because they're the Picture Massacles. I think it's going for about 160, 170 original copy. And Spare Parts. I've got the reissue on PKR, but I would love the original cut. There are 2. If I had got Money No Object, there would be the 2 albums that I would go and buy.
What about yourself?
I wouldn't justify paying 160 quid for a mono album.
The first 2 Oasis albums, definitely maybe, and What's the Story, Morning Glory. Firsts.
Have you got them now?
I haven't. I got the ones that came on after.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, the later ones.
Right. I thought those were the original ones you bought.
No. Well, they're first, but they're the later albums. So Be Here Now.
Right. Of course. Right. Those are
yeah.
That's right. The other one, Hidden Chemistry, wasn't it? Yeah.
Hidden Chemistry. Be Here Now, and the other one, What's the Truth? Something I can't remember.
I have to disagree with you on one point you made in your video, saying you would have preferred the double album being a single album. That would have been in terrible condition after one play, because everything really. Those are quite long albums.
Yeah, but the first two Oasis albums are on a single.
But the quality of them would have been atrocious. And I'll give you an example. Was the Dire Straits on Every Street album, the original, was on a single album, and it's unplayable. So totally unplayable, because any little bit of dust and it sounds like a serious scratch over half the album.
Well, we know that doesn't really matter, because we're collectors.
Yes, I know, but still, if you were to sell that on, you could not sell that as in mint condition if it was Pops and Crackles.
Well, of course not. I've said it's the same condition as what it was when I brought it and not play it.
I guess you got it sealed and you never opened it.
I suppose it's like, you remember the KTEL albums, and you get 20 songs on it.
And after 3 plays, they're terrible condition.
Yeah, I mean, and when you take it, it was like a flexi disc. That thing.
Yeah. Well, my 2 that I would want the most, and it's not the Tyrannosaurus Rex albums, the original ones, which I don't have. It's not the first 3 David Bowie albums, which are worth a fortune, which I don't have. These are actual reissues from less than 10 years ago. And it's the Half-Speed Masters of ABBA's Arrival and the album. And both of them are over the £100. They are on 45 RPM. They're on double disc. And I've got all the other ones that have been issued, and they all sound fantastic. Those are the 2 I would love, but I'm not paying that sort of money for them.
Yeah, I got rid of all my Led Zeppelin to put on there, but when Simon sent me Led Zepp 2 and Led Zepp 3 on the CD,
you want them all back?
I went all back again, and I thought, why did you get rid of your Led Zeppelin? I know that, it's a slap on the head. It definitely is. So, but the thing is, with the beauty of CDs, they're cheap as chips.
They are. I wouldn't mind some Tom Petty Japanese versions. I got some already, but I would like a few more to complete my collection.
Do you like the sound of the Japanese vinyl? Because
I do. I actually
very trebly. It is very
trebly. It is. Yeah, I don't mind that though. I quite like it. I'm not all that bothered about bass, and I like the quietness of the Japanese vinyl in the quiet passages. It's quality.
Yeah, I should be getting, hopefully, a Japanese record.
I like the obies. I like the different sort of variations and colours and things they do on the obies and stuff. I just find it, like Michael said the other week. He said they're exotic.
They are exotic. It's a very good word to describe.
It is, yeah, and they're a bit different. They're sort of cut above the norm, aren't they?
Yeah.
There's a few more words we'll like.
The artists that release in Japan, they treat their fans better, because even in CD age, the Japanese versions always had an extra track over the normal UK and US versions.
They do.
Even if they had extra tracks, there would be another extra track.
I saw a Blondie last week in my local record shop. Eat to the Beat, Japanese, 75 quid he wanted. A lot of money in it for a cheapish record.
That's a £10 record.
It is a £10 record normally, yeah. Because it's Japanese, 75 quid. Yes.
Yeah, I'm hopefully getting a. We was talking about after we finished last night on my stream. There's a Gillan album. It was his debut album that was only released in Japan and Australia. And Michael was looking on the thing, and he said, "I can get it." Oh, brilliant! How much you prepared to pay? And I told him the price, and then he went, "Yeah, I think we can do that." And then, because it's my birthday next month, as people know, Dave says, "I'll send you my. We'll talk, and there's your birthday present." So Dave's buying me the Gillan album that you can't get here, and then I'll be happy because it's the only Gillan album I haven't got on vinyl.
Very good. What year was it released?
1978.
All right.
It's got some of the tracks of Mr. Universe, but because I'm a completist, I've got to have it.
I suppose that's a little bit like AC/DC as well with their Australian albums. Some of those
Yeah,
tracks.
I've got TNT and Dirty Deeds, and I looked at the others, and they are mega expensive. But luckily, I had a friend that got them, and he put them on disc for me and cleaned them all up. Once again, they're on my iPod, so I have got copies of these Australian versions, which they're not the original, but I have got them, and I've got the Jailbreak EP as well, which was very kind of him. But yeah, it's just one of them things, you know. It's like I had my Gary Moore, the Dirty Fingers album. I always had the reissue on the Castle Communications label, and then I found it because it's originally on Jet. I've now got Dirty Fingers on the Jet label.
Right. Okay.
Because I wanted it. Because all my others are original albums. I haven't got all the Gary Moore on vinyl. I've got it up to After the War. No, then the two Blues albums. But I've got them initial rock albums that Gary Moore put out, and I love them to bits. But to have now the whole thing, and it's like my Genesis. I've got all the Genesis vinyl up to We Can't Dance, but I'd never had a vinyl version of From Genesis to Revelation. I saw it on eBay for $5, so I thought I'll pay for it. And when I got it, it's actually the Israeli pressing of it.
Right. Okay. I don't know if that increases the value. Probably.
I did go and ask my expert in Israeli pressings, and she says, "Well, I don't know if it's worth anything, but she said it's just different to have an Israeli because it's got it's printed in Israel and."
One thing I'll find Portuguese copies of albums I always found to be really. I'm echoing, by the way. Really poor quality. Why am I echoing? Maybe I'm too far up. That's better.
Do you have any records in your collection, Richard, which are unplayable, which are wrecked, but they're there just to fill a gap?
Yes. Now, this is what you call being really, oh God, I don't know how to describe myself. I have got a copy of David Bowie's Pin-Ups. It is wrecked. He couldn't play it, but the reason I bought it for 10p. the cover's wrecked, everything's wrecked, but I wanted it because the font on the label was slightly different to the font on the label that I already had. And I preferred the font on the label to the scratch version. And that's why I wanted it.
That's the collector in you, isn't it?
Yes,
It's in all of us, isn't it?
You couldn't. And it was sitting in the pound bin, and it wasn't even going to get a pound. I thought, I'll buy it. And
10p,
I could give it to me for 10p. But it's that font that I've really, really wanted. It's exactly the same font as the font of the Aladdin Sane album. And the one I've got, which is still a British press and has got a slightly narrower font, and it annoyed me. And I wanted that other one, which is the standard font. And that's why I bought it. So
this is one of my 10p albums.
Yeah.
No cover. It's Love Over Gold, Dire Straits, and it's not in very good nick. It sounds like someone's frying bacon on it. Look, it's not in.
It looks like it's warped.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is the album I had for a few years, and I found it a better condition one at a record fair in Northampton. So I've now got it, but I've still kept that because I've had that for years.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
So there's quite a few in my collection. However, that Pin-Ups one was not shown on my videos. It's in another room. So it's probably going to go up on the wall just as the album itself because it's a nice font and it'll keep me happy. to see that I've got one with the nice font.
It was like my Ultravox Quartet that got caught in a house fire. And I picked that up at a record fair, and it was nice to actually hear it again, the vinyl. But the cover was a mess, but my cover was okay, believe it or not.
Well, what do you guys think of whenever they release certain things? Multiple different variations of the same album. I know Nick has been collecting the Ian Dury and the Blockheads album. I think there's about 100 of them, different variation covers, and he's got most of them.
But he collects countries, doesn't he?
Yeah. But there's a lot. For example, the Police Synchronicity, it came out in about 40 different covers.
Okay.
And I didn't know that. It's just, there's different variations on the colors. And
yeah, what's the Rod Stewart album like that? Because he hasn't got them all yet, but if you put them all together, it'd make a huge picture of Rod.
I know what you call her, Taylor Swift did it on one of her albums a few years ago. And you needed to buy something like 12 albums at £50 a pop, something like that, or 8 albums at £50 a pop. And I know that Martin Harris, who's a big Taylor Swift fan, got them, but I think he struggled. Now, I could be wrong, and if you're watching, Martin, I apologize here, but I think he struggled to get the last one, and he had to pay way over the odds to get the last one, because it made a clock or something whenever you put them all together. But it's a serious gimmick. Like McCartney 3 was ridiculous with the amount of different colors.
Yeah, it's too much of a deep rabbit hole to go down, I think, for the average kind of collector, isn't it? You have to be one hell of a dedicated, to do something like that. To spend that kind of money on one album. I mean, it's not for me. I mean, I like different Tom Petty stuff, but it's a short limit. It's not like I'm not going to buy every kind of variation of different countries or different coloured vinyl. I might just get. It's normally about 1 or 2 different variations I might be interested in, and that's my limit for virtually all my sort of favourite sort of stuff.
Talking of Tom Petty, which cover do you prefer for Hard Promises? The British one, which is the white cover with a picture of him in the middle, or the American one, which is him standing in the record store?
The American one.
Yeah, I like because I like that one.
Yeah.
It is good. That's the one I got first when I bought it in vinyl from the Lammas Fair.
I've got a couple of copies of that album. It's
a good album, one of his best.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I always thought it was better than Damn the Torpedoes. I know you can.
Really?
I mean, I thought it was a better album.
Did you hear the conversation we had about Tom Petty's Wallflowers?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think they should have just released that as a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers? Because everyone on it was
albums could be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but I think all Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers albums could be released as solo albums. No difference.
No,
isn't a lot.
Mike Campbell is in them all.
Yeah.
And so if you talk about who are the 2 main members of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, you're going to say Tom Petty and Mike Campbell.
Mike Campbell every day, yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Me and Fever got all the Tom Petty crew on it, haven't they? On the song.
Like Squeeze. If you say who are the 2 biggest members of Squeeze, and say Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford, and the rest of them are, well, I'm not saying they're irrelevant, they're not, obviously, but Squeeze has gone through the years with those 2 being the being 2. That's the same with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. They should all be Heartbreakers.
Yeah, well, I think I've reviewed an album this week. I can't remember which one it is. Ben Montench plays piano on someone else's album. Blimey.
Well, he was the one. He was the one that wrote "You Little Thief" for Fergal Sharkey. Remember, Fergal Sharkey had a hit with, what was his big hit?
A Good Heart.
A Good Heart, which was written by Ben Montench's girlfriend at the time, Maria McKee.
Yeah.
And they had a massive fallout. And I think that A Good Heart is about that relationship. And then he wrote one in reply, a nastier one or something like that about her. And it was the second big hit, You Little Thief. And him and Howie Epstein featured quite a bit in Carleen Carter's albums as well. And Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers themselves, Johnny Cash's Unchained is basically Johnny Cash and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
So they did get about, and fair play to Tom Petty. He really did try and push Del Shannon back in the 80s, the early 80s, with that Drop Down and Get Me album, which is a good album. But you see the next one, Rock On, absolutely brilliant album. And Petty and Jeff Lynne are all over that.
Yeah, I always thought Tom and Mike's guitar playing was just a unique sound. There was nothing like it.
Mike Campbell is very, very good. I haven't heard any of that album, The Dirty Knobs, which I think is the worst title of a band ever. Really horrible, horrible title. But I was put off Mike Campbell whenever he joined Fleetwood Mac.
I've got a couple of Dirty Knobs albums, and they don't speak to me.
Do not?
No, it's just.
Do you like the Byrds, Simon?
I like the Byrds, yeah. I like the Byrds.
Because do you not think that Tom Petty's voice is quite similar to Roger McGuinn's voice?
Yeah, and his sunglasses and long hair, they're all similarities.
Sort of Rickenbacker type guitar sound.
Very influenced by the Byrds.
Yeah. Because whenever Roger McGuinn first heard American Tune, I think he said something like, "When did I release that?" Thinking it was, it sounds like him. And Roger McGuinn went on actually to record American Tune on one of his albums. I think it was Thunderbird. And it's not a bad version. It's not as good as Tom Petty's version, though. But the Byrds, you take the Mr. Tambourine Man album, that's just pure Tom Petty.
They worked on his album, didn't they?
Yes, Back to Real. That's one you should get.
Yeah, I have that actually. It's not bad at all.
I think it's a very good album.
There's a lot they did reach out to. A lot of artists they sort of went to, didn't they? Between sort of Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty.
Yes, there was, and around that 1988 to 1991 period was almost the oldies, a golden age for the oldies, because Jeff Lynne worked on Brian Wilson's album. He also worked with.
He did. Yeah, he produced. I think.
Duane Eddy wrote a song on Duane Eddy's album. He worked obviously with Roger McGuinn, and then there Dion DiMucci. Remember Dion and the Belmonts or whatever you call them, doing the Wanderer. He released an album around that time, which had people like Dave Edmunds and all on it. So around that very, very end of the 80s, the oldies were starting to really do well. Like Van Morrison had his most critically acclaimed album for ages, Avalon Sunset. And Bob Dylan's Oh Mercy was critically acclaimed. Yeah. So 1989 was a big year for the Oldie Brigade.
It was, yeah. It was.
Sorry about that, folks. That was Rocky's Babysitter tomorrow.
Right, okay.
I don't have that Johnny Cash one. No, I need to get that.
Unchained. Oh, it's a good album. It is good. It's very good. It's my favorite of all those the American Recordings ones. Second or third one. I can't remember which one it is. But yeah. Good album.
Yes, I've enjoyed listening to the Bob Dylan catalogue. It's the first time I've actually listened to every single Bob Dylan album. I think the 60s one and the mid 70s is my favourite period. Then he went all Jesus freak, didn't he, for a little while? And
can't really get
he made what was it? It's got Mark Knopfler on it.
He's got two with Mark Knopfler on it.
Yeah,
Train,
that's it. I think that's a great album.
That's his first Christian album.
Yeah.
My favourite of his 80s albums is Shot of Love, which is his third Christian album. That is fantastic album, and it's got Every Grain of Sand on it. It's so good, and a track called In the Summertime, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
really
when
good.
I did
Beautiful album cover, but beautiful album.
when he did when I was doing the 60s, I didn't like the one where he was singing. It sounded like the club singers from Shooting Stars.
If there is another artist to Tom Petty who you could marry up, so to speak, the most sort of likely similarities and stuff, I suppose Neil Young would probably be the person you would think of compared to Tom Petty.
Oh, no. I cannot stand Neil Young. I cannot stand him at all.
Similar to American music, though, isn't it?
Well, yes. Well, you could pick any American band then, but that voice really goes through me. If I was to pick somebody to marry up to Tom Petty, it would be Roger McGuinn again. Now, have you ever seen Tom Petty live?
No.
I have. But unfortunately, I saw him live whenever I didn't know very much about him. In fact, I knew nothing about him. I went over to see Bob Dylan live, and Roger McGuinn was the first act on, then Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and then Bob Dylan. And I knew more about Roger McGuinn than I did Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Now, I do. The one song I remember, this is about 1987, I think it was. I remember playing A Woman and Me. That's the only one I can. And the only reason I remember it because the fella that was sitting beside me was singing his heart out to it. And I was going to shut up, but it was a good concert. But no, it's a pity I didn't know much about Tom Petty. Was Trouble Mulberries that got me into him, really. And the track Last Night, which I thought was brilliant. I thought if his stuff is as good as this, he's a really good artist.
Has that been done as a thread in the past, marrying up different artists? So it would make a good thread if it was.
There is a thread of marrying up albums. Yeah. If you pick one album, what other album do you think of? Doesn't necessarily have to be from the same artist. That was actually, I think, maybe the last video. It was James Griffiths that started it, and that was the last video I did before lockdown.
All right.
I mean, we did something very similar on the live stream, didn't we? Where we took an album and we went round and got back to it.
Well, that's been done. Yeah. That was done by James Griffiths as well, where you had to link up each album, and then your last album had to link up to your first album. I'll give you an example of, I remember the two albums that link up for me. One is The Smiths, The Queen is Dead, and the other is Paul Simon's Graceland. And the reason they link up with me is because I had taped one on one side of a cassette, another on another side. And I had to do it old style because my tape recorder had broken in my music system at the time. So I had to get out an old 70s tape recorder with a microphone and stick the microphone to the speaker and record both albums so I could play them in my old mini Clubman. And they sounded bloody awful.
Would you say Pet Sound, Sgt. Pepper marry up with each other?
You would marry that up because of the connection between them.
I would, yeah.
Yep. But would you not marry up Pet Sounds with Rubber Soul? Because it was Rubber Soul was the inspiration for Pet Sounds.
Well, I know that, but I think Sgt. Pepper, it continues that kind of psychedelic element which was prominent in Pet Sounds, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think because all stuff kind of follows on each other, doesn't it? So,
like, I would also marry up something like Adam the Ants, Kings of the Wide Frontier, with Bow Wow Wow's "Sea Jungle, Sea Jungle."
Yeah, talking of that, I saw this little documentary on YouTube about Adam Ant. And about Bow Wow Wow and the controversy that Malcolm.
I know. He did the opposite. He split the band and then.
But he did them. I think he did Adam Ant a favour then.
He got in. Well, Adam then got in Marco Perrone.
What do you marry up with the Status Quo?
Who would marry Status Quo up with?
ZZ Top. Because
ZZ
they're
Top, Rock Hat.
yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm about Rock Hat.
Well, there was in the early 80s. There was a band called Spider, who was said that they were the new Status Quo because their sound was very much what Status Quo was doing in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to marry up. There's two sort of neo-prog bands that you can marry up, and that is Marillion with IQ. QI, sorry, they're IQ. They're very similar. You listen to their two debut albums, there's not much in between. And Marillion went off on their journey, and I think QI just sort of stayed in that same sort of zone, but thing. And then you can marry them up to Arena, which was Mick Pointer's band when he left Marillion. So them three bands are quite interconnected, not just by members of bands, but the sound that they were producing.
You see, you'll probably completely disagree here, but I always looked at Smokey as like the British version of the Eagles.
I would go with that.
Yeah, because they've got that sort of laid back feeling to it, acoustic-y, especially with your Take It Easy and all that sort of stuff, and you've got your Something's Been Making Me Blue and
in the arms of, the
lay back in the arms of someone.
Yeah. It's got that same tone.
Yeah.
You see, I would marry like Bob Dylan. I would marry him up to Bruce Springsteen because of their storytelling songs, and there's a lot of acoustic harmonica on Bruce's stuff.
Yeah.
So
the more I think about it, yes, I agree with Simon of marrying up with Neil Young. It's just I love Bob Dylan and I can't stand Neil Young, which is why I automatically say no. But I know where you're coming from because he's the Canadian version of Bob Dylan, basically.
Yeah, it's a friend of mine I used to work with. He says when I was growing up, we had Bob Dylan. When you were growing up, you had Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, him as well.
He says, and there's a connection. He says you like Bob Dylan. I said yeah, because I listened to him. I thought, God, you can see where Bruce got some of his ideas from. So I can see the connections that you listen to Nebraska, which is basically Bruce on his acoustic and thing. You can say times are changing. It's got that feel to it. It's the singular guitar and harmonica. So you can, that's where I see a big connection with the first three Dylan albums to Nebraska. And I do feel that that's where Bruce got his inspiration for some of his songs from, listening to Bob Dylan.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
If you think...
Sorry, do you want to put your email address in the private chat when I've got a wee bit of paper?
Yeah, sure.
And then I can get that sorted tomorrow.
I'll do that now.
And then whatever you were going to say.
Yeah, 1 second.
No problem.
Yeah, who would you marry Pink Floyd up with?
Thing is, what I was going to say just quickly, when you think of one, it doesn't necessarily work as the other way around. It's like if you think of races, for example, you may think the Beatles, but then if you think Beatles, you might think the Rolling Stones. You know what I mean? You might take a different direction.
Do you know who I would match up with Oasis before I would even
Probably
match up? No, I would say Slade.
Slade.
I think the Oasis are more influenced by Slade than they are the Beatles.
I would say T-Rex. If there was any band, apart from the Beatles, T-Rex would say heavily.
Be a wee bit as well. And Blur for me would be Cockney Rebel because they were a little bit more experimental. Blur, a little more
Yeah, they were. Oasis knew what they were as Blur was a bit of an experimental band, weren't they?
I think Oasis were like your meat and two veg rock and roll, basically.
Yeah. It's like Def Leppard. Now people can't, but their big influences were T-Rex, Bowie, Roxy Music, especially in their harmony singing and some of the guitar work. I mean, the Halo album from Def Leppard is very T-Rex. It's a very good album. But they, when they did this covers albums, they did a lot of glam rock, and they did David Essex, Rock On, and they do a great version. And I've seen them do Rock On live, and it's terrific when they did Rock On. Obviously, the bass is Rick Savage's No Herbie Flowers on Rock On, but he does a good effort.
When I think of the Beach Boys, I think about the harmonies, but I can't think of any other band which could maybe compete with them regarding harmonies. Maybe you two could. I can't.
A full band. Elements of Queen.
Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be quite a good one, yeah.
Yeah. Simon and Garfunkel, but they're not a band, they're a duo. Their harmonies are absolutely stunning. You got the little box set of all the albums, Simon?
I have. Yeah, recently picked it up. Yeah.
That's just brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant little box. I don't have it.
Lovely little phone that was.
Oh, absolutely. The quality of the music inside that box set is phenomenal.
I know. Phenomenal. I saw it. I thought that's coming over me. £6. Yeah.
No, if I saw that and I have all the albums on CD, I would buy it as well.
What I love about it is you put them out and they're all sort of like LP kind of. Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
It was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was surprised to see it sort of in a charity shop, but people don't want stuff anymore, do they?
To let you know about that. In your box set, I think Homeward Bound is on the Parsley Sage album. In the UK, it wasn't on the Parsley Sage album. It was on the Sounds of Silence album. So it was the Sounds of Silence album came out before Parsley Sage, and it was a hit here, and it was on the album, but it wasn't on the US version because I think their original version came out before it was a hit, and it wasn't included. So they put it on the Parsley Sage album, and to me, it doesn't fit on that album. That's because I'm used to it being on the.
There's an acoustic version of some song on one of those albums as well. I can't remember what it was now.
Oh, you're actually getting the bonus tracks on it as well. I think you're getting the extra tracks on those albums.
Maybe.
You've probably got the Rose of Aberdeen and all that stuff.
I don't know without taking it out and looking at it.
But no, well, £6, good almighty.
I know.
Yeah. It makes me wonder why you buy vinyl.
Well, sometimes I wonder when you can pick stuff like that up. But yeah, it was nice find that was.
I mean, I had Bridge Over Troubled Water on CD from one of the first CDs I brought when I got my first CD player, and I actually now own it on vinyl after all these years.
The problem with Bridge Over Troubled Water, I cannot look at the front cover anymore without, because Art is right behind Paul, and Paul's hairline is a bit like myself, and it looks as if Art is wearing a huge big Mexican moustache, although it's Paul's hairline. And if you see that once, you can't not see it again.
Very clever cover.
It's not Simon, I'm sorry, because from now on, you will see Art Garfunkel with a big hairy moustache.
On the radio today, they played the song 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. And I've forgotten what a catchy tune that is. It's got Gadd on the drums, isn't it?
Steve Gadd, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song. I've forgotten how good it was.
Very good song, but to me, it's one of those songs, you'll probably disagree, where the verse is far better than the chorus. That you slip out the back, Jack.
I agree. I agree.
I don't think that's brilliant, but the verses are beautiful, and the guitar, or the acoustic guitar is beautiful, and the drumming with Steve Gadd is absolutely magnificent.
I love the way that those verses give that song that kind of cool cat kind of sound, doesn't it? It works so well.
And I do think the chorus lets it down.
It does. It's too long for a start.
I think that's. I think the beauty of that song is that some of the verse is quite tongue in cheek and a little bit dark in places, but because it's got that catchy beat, it distracts you from what he's actually saying, and it's quite stabbing in the back jobby, isn't it?
It's a very quiet song, isn't it? It's tap 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 tap.
Yes, and then the chorus is supposed to be uplifting, which I think is almost sloppy. So I think he could have sort of waited a while and tried to think of something else. Have you got any of his solo albums?
Paul Simon. On vinyl, I have his 80s stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's one album. For the Simon and Garfunkel fans, it's been probably my second favorite of a solo album, maybe third. Is that you love is There Goes Rhymin' Simon, because it's almost like a Simon Garfunkel album. It's got the hit single "Take Me to the Mardi Gras" on it. The big hit single in America was Kodachrome, which is very good as well.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's got American Tune, which is probably one of his best ever solo songs, even though the music of it, I think, was lifted from J.S. Bach or one of those classical composers. But it's a really, really catchy album. My personal favorite is the one before it, Paul Simon, with Mother and Child Reunion and Take Me to the Mardi Gras. Me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
I think in general, as a whole, I prefer British music, but that doesn't mean to say I don't love American music any more than I do British music. Would you not agree?
I totally agree. I did my top 10 favorite artists last year. One was Swedish, at least one was American, and I think the other 8 were possibly English.
You kind of love things for what they are rather than try and sort of to compare things too much, you know.
It's what a lot of what I like is based on what I was listening to when I was a kid, and the charts as well. You know, because we listened to the charts every Tuesday it came out, the chart for that week. So then you know what the new number one for Thursday night's Top of the Pops was. So a lot of that sunk in as well, and a lot of those were British artists. Okay, some American artists were big hits here, and it's the same in America. But TC of TKR Video Central, he does these quizzes every Saturday where he gives 10 questions over 5.5 rounds, and he gives a points based, and they're name the hit, and it's all based on the Billboard Top 100. And round 1 is supposed to be the easiest because they were all top 10 hits. Round 2 is all top 20 hits, etc. And the worst ones, the ones you got the most money or points from, were the ones that weren't really hits. And those are the ones, a few of them I've been able to get. For example, Message in a Bottle, a huge hit here, number 1. It hit something like number 73 in America. You know, so I was able to pick up some of these songs. Space Oddity was one of the very low ones, although I think it recharted again in America, I think in 1973 and got top 20, but still, where there was big hits here, they weren't as big over in America.
Am I assuming then, Richard, that like Ian, by the time the 90s came around, that you weren't too bothered about music?
I thought you said, am I stupid like Ian? I was going to say, no.
No.
Yes, you are. Although myself and Ian did this 90s number twos, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And there's a lot of, I put it this way, in the number twos, every single one of them I loved and I knew. So I know more than I think I know of the 90s. 1984, 85 was probably the big cutoff for me.
Yeah, what's for me that it's when the sound
changed.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we did. I'm hoping
you're similar ages, aren't you? Though, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm about 7 months older than you.
Yeah, I'm October. You're February, isn't it? So
8 months older.
I'm about 66. It's like the other one of the last ones before we took the break. We did our synth pop, and I want to do another one of them because I've found other ones that God, I forgot about that one. I forgot about that one. I forgot about. There's so many great synth pop. You know, I was into heavy metal, but I loved synth pop.
The thing about the early synth sound was different to the processed synth of the late 80s. That's, you know, like your synth of, say, something like the Pet Shop Boys is nothing like the synth of Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. And I saw you got a couple of their albums, Simon as well. You got Organization, really good.
Picked up two. How many have they got in discography? How many do they have in their discography?
Well, you see, right, okay, I'll name them off. The first one is Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, then Organization, then Architecture and Morality, Dazzle Ships, Junk Culture, Crush, The Pacific Age. Then they split up, and then they carried on in the 90s without Paul Humphreys, with Sugar Tax, Liberator, and Universal. Then they came back in the 2000s with Paul Humphreys again, and it's a history of modern, the English something or other, and two more which I can't remember the name of. The last one is Our House Staircase.
That's brilliant.
Luxury.
It's the best album for many a year. I really like playing that album.
Right.
So they are very good. Even the 90s stuff is very good as well. And they did take a break out to write for Atomic Kitten, I know.
I like China Crisis, but their 90s stuff just like completely takes a dive.
I have a few of their albums because I got them cheap, and I struggle with them. I really do.
What happened? What happened?
I don't know. I love Wishful Thinking, and I love Christian. King in the Catholic Style was fine. Black Man Ray was fine. And I saw these albums at $5 each, and I think I bought 3 of them. And they just sound a little bit too jazzy for me.
I'm curious to check them out. You know, if I do come across them cheap, I probably would buy them.
Yeah.
But I don't expect much from them. Yeah.
I've seen OMD.
There we are.
Yeah, I saw them in 1992.
That would be that's the OMD Mark II.
Yeah, but that was. I mean, I know. I think I've mentioned this before. I saw them and they supported Simple Minds on their real life tour, and they played at Milton Keynes Bowl. And we had Bellius Som, OMD, Stranglers, and Simple Minds.
Oh, is that Bell song?
Whack with their cool.
I remember them.
Yeah, they weren't that good. I went down a burger. I think everyone had the same idea, though. Because by the time we got back to the bowl, the actual stage area, they'd finished their set. So,
anyway, I'm going to shut it down now because you've got that Leeds trip tomorrow, haven't you? And
yeah, I got.
If you want to hang around for another 5-10 minutes and chat, and that's
yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. I don't want to be like we normally do into the wee hours.
No. We'll shut it down now and have a bit of a chin wag, shall we?
Yeah.
All right, then. You two make this job a breeze. You really do. So thank you both.
That's all right.
Great to be on. Great to be on. Where's Jason?
We'll tell you in a minute.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Bye for now.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.